All right, guys, welcome to the very first Geeky AF. This is something I'm going to be trying out. If it goes well, then we'll keep doing it. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. So this week's show is going to be something that I've been thinking about quite quite often. I think a lot of us Star Trek fans have. Why Star Trek Picard suffered as a whole. So a lot of us, modern Trek has kind of been hit or miss. Either we really, really like it or we really, really hate it. Star Trek Picard, I think, is kind of the same thing. For me, um, season one, when we all heard that Patrick Stewart was coming back, we all kind of jumped for joy. We loved just the idea that classic Trek was coming back. We had at that point, a couple of years of Star Trek Discovery, and for quite a bit of us, it had left a bad taste in our mouth. Um, I don't think it quite hit the sweet spot for a lot of us in Star Trek fandom. So hearing that Patrick Stewart was coming back to Star Trek, um, how could you possibly lose with good old Captain Picard? When we tuned in for it, I don't think it was quite what everybody had expected. Starfleet was 20, 25 years later, 30 years later, something to that effect. It was a lot darker. Um, Starfleet felt more like the Star Trek Discovery-esque Starfleet that we had seen on Discovery instead of the post-Nemesis Starfleet that we had seen. It didn't feel very much like something that you would see after the Dominion War or after Voyager. So a lot of us were left with, what is this? And some of the mandates that that Patrick Stewart had was he didn't really want to be in Starfleet anymore. He wanted Picard to have moved on. So I think there was a huge disconnect from what Patrick Stewart wanted and from what the audience wanted, and what we were expecting. That's not to say that there was everything bad with the first season. Obviously, there were some good things about it. It continued the story of what happened with Nero and the Star Trek Kelvin universe with the Romulan star exploding and dealing with the fallout of that, which was sort of interesting. Kind of sucked that they went down the Borg path, because I think the Borg was overplayed with Voyager. So I think that was, I don't really see the need for that. I think a lot of people agreed with that. Borg was overplayed. Why bring them in? But the Romulan aspect was interesting. I felt like they really should have focused on that. Bringing Data back was also somewhat interesting. It was somewhat of breath of fresh air in kind of a, who are all these new characters? It was something familiar, and again, kind of a breath of fresh air, because everything just kind of felt dark, gloomy, and man, this is depressing. So it was refreshing to see Brent Spiner dusting off the data chips, no pun intended. So those are some things that worked. It was nice to see Hugh. But at the time, a lot of us were looking at 7 and 9 going, this feels more like Sarah Connor than it does 7 and 9. It wasn't really what we had wanted. And to see what they had done to each of it was, it pissed off a lot of fans along the line, a lot of long-term fans. So again, you had a lot of hits and you also had a lot of misses. One of the positives that I found with season 1 was Raffi. I liked that character a lot. To see a woman who's lost her career, she's lost her family, and she believes something so much with what everyone else sees as conspiracy theories. It's like we've all kind of believed something at one point or another, where everyone else kind of looks at us and goes, whatever. I related to that. I enjoyed that character, and she was very sympathetic, and I enjoyed that character a lot. It was tragic to see her, believe in Jean-Luc Picard so much that they were going to save the Romulans, and then that fall from grace for both Raffi and Picard. One of the things that this series suffers, and I think Discovery also suffers from, is um, not remembering the characters' names. They don't suffer as much as Discovery does, but it took me a long time to remember um, Girardi, I believe her name is, the doctor lady, and then shit, I remembered it when I started talking about the names, but I forgot him just now. The Captain Rio, I think his name is Rio. Um, I really enjoyed him in season two, not so much in season one. When he became the Starfleet captain, I liked that. I thought that was wonderful progression. Um, I don't remember uh, the Romulan assassin's name. I don't remember him. He was kind of forgettable in that first season. I felt um, I kind of enjoyed it when he joined Starfleet, but then dies. Like, I don't know. Like, season two was worse than season one because the first two episodes of season one, or the first two episodes of season two, were great. Um, and they were really strong. After that, it kind of was just all over the fucking place. And you're sitting there trying to follow the story, and it reminds me of the uh, string board that Charlie has and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where it's just like this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, leads to this. And you're sitting there trying to follow it, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's crazy talk. There were elements that I enjoyed for for season two, but overall it was kind of a drag to watch. And for Star Trek, I remember as a kid, I used to be really excited to be like, "Oh, Next Generation's coming on tonight. Let's watch it. Let's watch it for dinner. Let's watch it. Let's rewatch the VHS tape that I recorded. Um, and for Star Trek Picard, it was like if it came on and I didn't get to it till 2 or 3 days afterwards, I didn't care. And that was kind of the same way season one was as well. The exception was the episode with Riker and Troy. I really enjoyed that episode in season one because it felt the most uh, next gen like. That felt the most like what I wanted in my Star Trek. Same thing with the first two episodes of season two. That felt the closest to Star Trek that I wanted. And again, the more they delved away from what I wanted in my Star Trek, which is fucking people in space, exploring stuff, the human condition. I didn't really enjoy seeing them riding around in cop cars and, in 21st century Earth. That's fine for a Star Trek movie, for a bit, but, dragging it out for the entire season, it's like, come on, man. It's not what I wanted, especially when the plot made no sense. Girardi's Borg also, uh, that whole thing was just dumb, and I felt like the writers in the first season tried to make some uh, concessions to Patrick Stewart and give him what he wanted and tried to please the fans. In the second season, I just don't feel like they tried very much. I just felt like they were like, well, just throw shit at the wall and see what they come for. Um, Season three, I didn't even care if the show got a season three. I was like, fuck it. I gave up on Star Trek Picard after season two. I didn't care, and not one bit until the sign of the Next Generation came up as they were coming back for season three. That was where I turned my head and was like, this could be good. I got excited because of the possibilities. It was the same type of excitement I had when they announced that Patrick Stewart was coming back for Star Trek Picard, because this was going to have all the casts, and it wasn't announced to everybody at first. From what I heard, it was just this person's coming back, this person's coming back, possibly all of them. So it was again that possibility of like, wow, cool. Are they going to try to recreate what we had in the '90s? Our childhood. The remembrance, and it reminded me of how our parents must have felt for the Star Trek 2 through Star Trek 6 movies, with their nostalgia. everything had changed, but they were now 20 years older. And that's how I felt with this. Like, they're bringing back the icons that we grew up with. And when I was a kid playing with the Galoob action figures, I would imagine that we were 20 years in the future and that I was an adult and these were actual movies, and they were playing on this planet and doing all these things, and I had such such a dumb kid, but I had such grand ideas, and now here we are in season 3, and they were playing to that, and as an middle-aged man, I'm looking at this, and it's so much full circle. So I went in with a little bit more hope. I was not impressed with the uniforms or the uniform jackets at first. I was like, fuck, they're screwing this up again. But again, I waited, and I thought, give me some presentation. At the time, I didn't know who Terry Metalis was, and I thought, I'm not going to look at anything. I'm not going to look at spoilers. I'm not going to look at anything. I'm going to wait for them to impress me. I don't want to look at anything, because before I had looked at all the spoilers and everything for Picard 1 and 2, and I was always let down. So I thought, I'm going to go into this completely blind, and I was pleasantly surprised by everything. Season 3 hit all the right marks. As a fan, as an armchair critic, in this day and age, everyone's an armchair critic online, but it hit all the pleasure centers of my lizard brain, of what I want in my fandom. It had the right bit of nostalgia. It gave me that hope for a next generation. Again, no pun intended. With Jack Crusher, with Geordie's kids, and I had even hoped to see Riker and Troy's kid come on and join the crew in some like Wesley Crusher-esque fashion, trying to be a cadet and join, because I thought, man, let's have the crew come, the next generation, and go off into the starlight per se, but I really enjoyed everything that they did do, and I was disappointed with everything that they couldn't do, but not in a bad way, not in a critical way like I was with season 1 and 2. I was disappointed because I thought, man, it's kind of like when you eat all the ice cream and you're disappointed because you're like, man, I just want a little more. It's so good. I just want a little more. And that's the way you should feel with Star Trek. Is you should feel like, man, it was that damn good. I want to recommend this, and I'm going to recommend this, and I just want a little bit more. Man, I can't wait till I see some more, sometime down the road. It leaves you with anticipation instead of sense of dread and wanting to stop taking your heart medication because it's so dark and depressing, But it was really, that third season really made up for the first two, which again I felt was very lackluster. But I feel like overall the series, if you just watch that third season, you're going to get everything you need from your Star Trek, and the first two seasons can kind of be skipped. And I feel the entire series as a whole suffered in large because they were trying to pander to what Patrick Stewart wanted. And I understand as an actor myself, there are certain things I want for my character. There's certain things I want to get out of a performance. But at a certain point, you got to look at it and go, what is it the fans want? What are they going to enjoy? And there are some people that, obviously there are people that enjoy seasons 1 and 2. And it's, they aren't without their charm. But I'm just saying overall, I think with the reception of what season 3 gave us, I think that far overshadows what seasons 1 and 2 gave us. So, anyway, that's my opinion. Everyone's entitled to theirs. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment. Let me know. And if you like these reviews on Geeky AF, let me know. I'll continue doing them. If not, no harm, no foul. But thanks for joining me, and keep on geeking on, guys.